Thank you so much, Christina, for such a warm introduction and for setting the stage for our very exciting segment, insurance. And I'm really pleased to kick it off. But before I'm going to give my traditional trends overview, which I always do at our Expo, so every half a year at our events here at Plug and Play, I wanted to take a quick step back and actually put the insurance vertical into perspective, where it stands with Plug and Play, and a bit about our history. So as you know, at Plug and Play, we work with more than 60 sectors, more than 60 markets. There are only some of them here on the screen. It's a cross-vertical stage, so you heard some insights from deep tech, dual use. Insurance is historically at the very core of Plug and Play operations. We started the vertical in 2016, so it's actually 10 years now that we're working with insurance companies, so carriers, reinsurance, brokers across the globe. Currently, we have more than 40 partners on our platform, and again, we're servicing all markets. The backbone of our insurance vertical is our acceleration program for startups that we do out of our Munich office for EMEA-based companies and out of our Silicon Valley office for the startups based in Americas. And today, so apart from Munich and Silicon Valley, we also have very strong partnerships happening in London, but also Paris, Vienna, which are not yet on the map here, as well as Beijing and Tokyo. So we have a truly global approach and global insights. And with that, I wanted to skip through to the exciting part, the trends. So every half a year, we do an exercise in our Insurtech team at Plug and Play in collaboration with our office in the Silicon Valley. So we always try to quantify innovation in the sector. And innovation is really tough to quantify sometimes. So we think that a very good proxy for the level of innovation, the speed of innovation in a particular sector, is the capital inflow in the new technologies that shaping up insurance in this respect. That's why don't be confused. That's why we're kicking off our trends presentation with some numbers, some graphs. So here you can see all the capital inflow in Insurtech across the globe on the left-hand side. And the interesting insight from there that we see that the pace of innovation actually slowed down, and it's been a bit in stagnation since 2023. And even though we don't have the new numbers for the current year, by first quarter you can already see that probably the dynamics this year is not going to be much better. This is the environment we're operating in. It's relevant for our insurance carriers in the room. It's relevant for startups as well to know what is the market you're building in. And I also like to always show a few biggest investment rounds that are happening specifically in Europe, just to show what type of technologies are reaching high maturity levels. And in the last quarter, we had 4 big deals happening here in EMEA. One is Alan, probably you heard of it. It's a digital health scale-up based in Paris, the biggest round of the last quarter. Mia, the data orchestration platform from the UK. Artificial Labs, the smart underwriting co-pilot, also based in London. And lastly, the pet insurance from Sweden. Again, it doesn't mean you necessarily have to explore partnerships with those companies, but it's good to see where the market stands with regards to specific topics and what level of maturity they are. And another exercise that I like doing is to go through all the investment rounds that were made public and try to analyze what are actually the topics that investors are interested in. Because Plug and Play is investor at our core, and we've been investing in startups for over 20 years now. We're specialized on early stage investing, meaning that we're the ones getting to the very new technologies, as in the first place. And those are some of the rounds that also happened across the globe, grouped by certain topics. And an interesting learning here as well, that we speak a lot about AI automation and AI workflow automation specifically. So this really truly horizontal layer that insurers are partnering with right now. And those are the topics that are still dominant, they're super relevant. We see big rounds happening in the sector. However, we see a resurrection, I would even say, of MGA models, for example, specifically targeting automotive, commercial insurance, so SMEs as one of the segments. Another interesting learning that we see, the evolvement of AI native business models in the sector, which is also something completely new. For example, AI native brokers or digital TPAs. Or even AI native full stack insurers, so startups attempting to wipe out the whole segment, such as SMEs, which is, I think, the most popular topic these days. And yeah, I think we can skip slides. An important question, why we're talking about this, why we're analyzing all the deals. We bring our knowledge and we map it out always on insurance value chain. And of course, the pace of innovation in insurance is not as fast as to change this every month, but we are trying to always find the newest things. And here you can see the full insurance value chain with the product management as the first step of it, with the new technologies that has been shaping the industry in the last month, or let's say last half a year. And I'm not going to focus on all of them individually, but just to highlight a few that I think are the most exciting ones. For example, in claims management, we are talking about the relevance of multimodality as one of the advancements in AI in general, right? So when you can when it's not just the text input, but also video or speech, and you can get an output, say, on your your claims team, right? So this is a very highly relevant trend, and one of the companies that is in the space currently building also our portfolio is Archetype AI. And another thing that I wanted to focus on, for example, in the product management space, a new type of insurance evolving, so insurance for your AI agents, right? And again, we haven't seen it happen across traditional insurance players, but startups are really catching up. And I think it's a matter of few months that we have really like a big solution in the space with like lots of partnerships and proven track record. So yeah, just to name a few. And it's a lot of text on the slide, so I'll just explain everything. And then we also like to reformulate all these new technologies, all these topics that are really dominating the market onto the opportunities for insurers. Concretely, what should we do? What is everyone else doing? And here, so we usually pick 6 of the trends. Of course, there are more of them, depends at what angle you analyze. But the most important thing is that within AI space, we really see a lot of agentic AI solutions for operational level. And an interesting thing to see that finally it's past the stage of experimenting and it's really fully on into adapting and scaling stages. Coming with a certain risks, but again, it's like a big development in the market this year specifically. Then we also see insurers trying to capture different market segments, for example, younger generations, specifically for products like life and health insurance, but more life than health. And the main idea here is that the younger generations, they have very high requirements for their insurance providers. They want the experience to be hyper-personalized, hyper-digitized. And the sector of life insurance has not been that, life insurance in general in Europe is not that widely spread. And this is really critical to capture this market niche. And so we see a lot of digitization in the life insurance space specifically. And yeah, AI native carriers I already spoke about. And then on the other 3 trends, I wanted to make a bit more of a focus in my next 3 slides. So everything around underwriting, again, we feel it's no longer anything new, but finally those type of solutions are actually scaling within companies. So we're talking about continuous underwriting, we're talking about dynamic data integration, where you can receive and analyze large amount of data in real time. And we see a lot of underwriting co-pilots. So instead of using a special software for your underwriting team, you have a co-pilot who is supporting their work. Another thing that is also very important today is that it all depends on the quality of your data and the preparedness of your systems for the AI era. And it was really interesting to see that a lot of financial services companies, so this is not specific to insurers, but in general, everyone in the financial services sector. So from bottom up, you can see how, if they adopted open standards. And open standards for data means if you can exchange data freely between your departments or within your own organization. And it's really interesting to see that the majority of companies are still at the bottom, so they don't really have the capability of exchanging data. They're built on legacy systems, and this is a big question for tomorrow. Are we really prepared to scale AI applications if we are operating on the legacy systems that are not that lack interoperability? And the third one, also wrapping up here really quickly, being mindful of time. So here we have two different trends happening. On the one hand side, we see AI native full stack insurers that are trying to take home markets. They are very fast, very efficient, especially when it comes to distribution and getting to their target groups. I put a few names of a few companies. They're all US based, so it's going to come for Europe as well at some point. And then on the other side, we also see a lot of modular innovation that can plug in really nicely into your distribution channels. And I just handpicked a few trends that I think are going to be really shaping insurance space in the next few months. For example, generative search optimization, when you can, when the idea here is that policyholders of the future are not going to be Googling, but are going to be using ChatGPT to find their insurance carriers. And you want to make sure you're somewhere on top of the search. Same with empowering brokers with AI capabilities. We see I already mentioned AI native brokers model emerging, and it could be really a good way to be more efficient in pushing your policies onto the new markets. Building an ecosystem, so everything along embedded insurance topic. Again, nothing new, but the trend that I've been seeing in this space is that a lot of carriers are moving, instead of building their own capability, they're moving to acquire well-funded startups in the space, and thus acquiring those capabilities. And another, of course, everything about knowing your customer inside out, being able to react real time to, for example, their big life changes, moving to a new flat, changing a job, and being there with customized offers for additional cross-selling opportunities. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. If we're not connected yet on LinkedIn, let's connect and speak more about insurance trends. And back to you, Christina. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Katja. It's a pleasure to be working with you because Katja, she really brings tremendous insights and expertise to our insurance platform. So if you have questions, please approach her and talk to her. We'll stay in AI and insurance. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot that is affecting the market. And I think in the insurance industry, there's a lot we still need to do. So it's exciting. And we'll dive into our keynote for today for the Insurance Expo. So speaking about exactly AI in Insurtech, please welcome with me on stage Dr. Michael Wächter. He's the Managing Director for the Digital Impact Labs in Leipzig from Germany.
Yes, thank you very much for this introduction. And I know I have a bit provocative title today, Save 300,000 euros in 5 days with Gen AI, but the number is true. But the real story doesn't go about the number. The real story is in the people and in the process we do. And the figure is real, but that's not the point. The point is how we get there. And if you only remember the number when you go out to this talk, then you get the wrong informations. Our core belief is that the successful use of AI is not in technology, but in the people who use it. We need the skills in the companies, and we need a right organization of Gen AI in the companies. Everything of you know, 2016, the innovation hype with design thinking and labs increase in all companies. There are workshops with sticky notes, but on the next day, the leader comes and says, we do business as usual. And one point, because that happened, is that the wrong organization from innovation in the companies are. We need we need the skills on the bottom by the employees and not in a team which is only claimed this skills, and nobody of the employees come to them and want to do innovation. The real problem we see is that most Gen AI initiatives do not fail because of the technology, because of the use cases from the top. The managers get use cases from the top which get delivered without asking the employees for the real problems. They give licenses to the people and only 20% of the employees use it, but they don't know how and for what. And one central team, it's one AI team with 3 people, and they only have the skills, but the employees have the skills not. And our thesis is the impact of Gen AI emerges in the specialist departments where the problems lie, and therefore we have the approach to skill up promoters at the base level, promoters, multiplicators, you name it. And therefore we have 4 weeks ago Gen AI Promoters Bootcamp with an insurance company here in Stuttgart. 5 days, we guide them to the whole process from ideate use cases, analyze use cases, and develop prototypes, test it with the colleagues, and then get a good get a good result, and that's a very high effect, which ended in this 300,000 euros of saving. What do the promoters can do? They identify, analyze, prioritize, building prototypes, testing with the target groups, and take it away to supporting the staff, the other employees, and so you have a multiplication of the skills in the whole company and not only one team with 5 people. So what we do 3 subgroups. They went through the whole process and generated 3 prototypes with this 300,000 euro of savings in 5 days. But this return of investment was a byproduct. Skill level up was the goal. We don't want to save this money, but it was a side product of our process. And one of the promoters, until the last 5 weeks, saved 1.5 million with 3 prototypes they developed in this time after this 5 days. And we use Microsoft 365, no extra tool, only this suite with the Gen AI in it. And that's the conclusion. Transformation is achieved through people, not by licenses, and qualification is not the cost factor. we must enable the promoters, and the ROE follows the competences in the company. When we don't have the competences, we don't can run the potential of Gen AI in the company. That's our training for promoters, not a seminar. It's an implementation. 6 days, not 5, because we implement more detailed the build of agents and workflows, because in workflows there are much more potentials than in agents, and you can implement it without any other software. And they create a full process by prioritizing the use cases in feasibility and compliance, advanced prompting capabilities, implement agents, scalable and tested prototypes in form of mini apps or agent solutions, business case, structured documentation, and skills for dealing with resistance in the organization, because that's a very big point that many people are angry about their jobs when they hear the Gen AI makes my jobs in the future. More than 80% application and reflection, only a few impulses from us, because when you want to learn something, you have to do it. Yeah, and that's the end when you want to connect. Sorry for my English and German. I could tell you much more about it, but yeah, thank you.
So, thank you so much. You were quicker than expected. I just got some water. But yeah, diving into the next session for this Insurtech Expo, which is our panel discussion. So we'll dive into intelligent scale, how AI and automation shape the new era of insurance. So welcome on stage Katja, and she'll explain everything, and welcome the speakers on stage.
Christina, it's me again. So in the trend session earlier, we were speaking about the technologies that are just emerging and starting to shape the insurance industry. So young startups, more mature scale-ups that are building point solutions. And the next conversation that we're going to have now is going to be about scale. What it takes actually for insurance businesses to go from pilots and proof of concepts to integrating AI in their core operations, into underwriting and the claims and distribution that we spoke about. Today I've got 3 people on stage who sit at very different points of insurance value chain. We have 2 prominent insurers, Irish Life and BNP Paribas Cardiff, and the technology partner, DXC Technology, that actually has to make AI run in production. And with that, I want to announce our next panel, how AI and automation shape the new era of insurance. So we're lacking the microphones a bit, so we'll have to pass one of them to each other. I'll have to be passing microphone to you. Okay, perfect. So welcome, and thank you so much for joining the panel today. So first, I would kindly ask you to briefly introduce yourself and describe the single biggest milestone of integrating AI within your organization, maybe, just to get things off the ground.
I'm Chris Curran from Irish Life. I work in the innovation unit, and I work with all the AI teams to help them develop pilots and ideas and integrate them. The best thing that we've done is we developed a claims assist engine that transformed, like we're now paying claims in minutes and hours as opposed to weeks and months, which is what it used to take. So it's actually won awards. We're incredibly proud of it. It's made all our careers, and we're very excited about it. So.
Hi there, my name's Andrew Loach. I work for DXC, one of the partners for Plug and Play. I work in insurance, have done for many years, and I'm responsible for helping DXC grow its insurance business and help the customers of DXC grow their business as well. So that's my role. I'm based in Lloyd's of London. That's where I work most days. And my job is to, and we've got 1,900 insurance customers, 1,900 across the globe. General insurance, specialty insurance, life insurance. And our job is to help them move from pilot to production. And the biggest thing that we help them do is to help them with their legacy and technology debt. Because if you don't get that right, then it's very difficult to scale AI. So most of what we do is help them get AI ready. That's one half. The other half is what we do is then we provide them with the tools and technology to accelerate through AI workbenches, accelerate the adoption at scale of AI. So, and we've got many thousand people that do that across all sorts of insurance companies and many other industries as well. So that's what DXC does.
Hello everyone, I'm Stefan Neupert and I'm representing BNP Paribas Cardiff today. We are a solely exclusive B2B2C insurer. And of course, for us is automation and AI, as we discussed today, super important for our future business. One really great example we have developed in the recent years is that we introduced by last year a full parametric insurance product. What does it mean? If a customer has a claim, it's automatically detected and also settled. And of course, this is super convenient for the end customer and our partners. And also, our claims management process is fully automated, so we're saving a lot on both sides. And happy to have the other discussion with you guys here today.
Thank you so much, Stefan. Thank you for introductions. Okay, then let's dive right in. Stefan, my first question is for you, actually. You are a leader in mobility and partnerships at BNP Paribas Cardiff. And you know, as no one else, that AI and automation is really key to embedding insurance seamlessly into holistic digital ecosystems. So the question is the following. How do you feel that AI opens up entirely new markets and distribution channels for Cardiff? Sorry.
Thank you, Katja. Super question. We believe that automation and AI is really changing the economics of partnerships. So we are exclusively, as mentioned, working with partners to distribute insurance, to develop it. And it's all about embedding insurance in the ecosystem of our partners. So we believe that in automation and AI support, it can be much more easier to lower the levels for our partners to embed insurance. On the other side, it's also more easy for us to provide embedded solutions to the market and also to new areas and new partners and customers. And this is really super interesting because, of course, there's an element of automation in the first place. And if we have done the automation part, then we could also put in more intelligence. So it's for us more a discussion about not only productivity, but really to looking into totally new areas of business we can do when we reach the levels of automation and AI support we are targeting for.
Thank you. Sorry about the inconvenience. Okay. Chris, my next question is for you. So looking at the customer journey in Irish life or in general, we see how AI is moving from reactive to really proactive customer engagement. Where do you personally see the most exciting opportunity for AI models to fundamentally change how customers experience and trust their insurance partner?
Okay, I think there are kind of three concepts that I think about. One is from an article by Mark Andreessen a few years ago, which talks about how AI gets rolled out. And I'm massively simplifying what he said, but it's basically Horizon 1, everything gets automated. Horizon 2, new products become possible. Horizon 3, God knows what's going to happen to society and culture. Okay. The second concept, I think, is about AI maturity in organizations. So there's early stage, which is doing loads of cool pilots and using ChatGPT to write poetry about your CEO. Then end stage is kind of AI native or AI very heavily AI enabled. And then there's this really messy bit in the middle that we're all trying to get across, that rewiring of your organization, of changing budgets and IT structures and reporting and ownership. And that is what everybody is wrestling with at the moment. I haven't seen anyone do it well, but everyone's trying, okay? And I guess the third kind of concept is this emerging battle, which you covered really well there, between AI native organizations starting in a greenfield site. Can they take on AI-enabled incumbents who have all the customers, who have massive regulation moats that they've hidden behind for years, and who's going to win in that arms race? And I think that's really exciting. But to bring it back to customer, I think who wins is who serves the customer better. And my fear is that existing insurance companies think about AI as, okay, well, we'll make underwriting a bit better, and we'll make claims a bit quicker, like we did, and we'll use it to cut some cost and automate some stuff. Whereas I think AI native organizations can potentially fundamentally, completely reinvent the product. And I think that's the really exciting thing. Customers care about price, they care about ease, and they care about personalization. And whoever can really drive meaningful, exciting change in that space is who will win. And I look forward to being part of the battle.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, Andrew, and the final answer goes to you. Question goes to you. You are a strategic global technology partner managing massive enterprise systems and working with a lot of big enterprise clients. In your view, what are the core infrastructure requirements for insurance companies that are looking to scale their AI reliably?
That's too hard, that quick. Can you ask me an easier one?
Sorry about that.
So we do it with large banks, insurance companies, and often they've got massive issues with legacy applications, legacy infrastructure, and it's really challenging for them. So what we see is a number of these customers, they develop pilots, but they're isolated. They sit by themselves, and they can't connect to the data that they need to really make them shine. So the biggest thing we're doing is actually not about technology, it's actually helping build a business case for the use of AI, because most of them fall in love with the technology, and what we try and help them with is to fall in love with the problem that AI can solve. We mentioned it upstairs earlier. So walk around the problem more, understand it more from different facets, and look at the implications of the problem from a cost, risk, governance, compliance. Sometimes they rush, they look at something, they grab it, and they don't really try and understand how to gather evidence that what they want to fix with AI will actually deliver value. So they often skip that phase and they don't do it properly, and then when they try and justify significant investment, they can't convince the board. That's the biggest issue. So what we're trying to do is help them understand how they can build a business case to take cost out of their old, mature heritage systems, and then redirect the savings back into innovation programs. That's what I spend most of my time doing. Taking cost out of old so you can redirect it into new. And customers that do that well can very quickly gain an advantage if they focus their thinking about the customer. And most of the large organizations tend to focus about them, internal efficiencies, internal savings, not about what value it brings to the customer. Sometimes that's forgotten, literally, completely forgotten. So focus on the customer, take out of old, redirect into new. That's what we spend most of our time doing.
Thank you so much. And we're ready to wrap it up with one final question. You can answer in short or whatever you prefer. What is the one single AI opportunity that gets you excited to come to work every day?
Okay. So for me, this is a really hard question because there is no single one. At PNB Paribas Cardiff, we are having globally 90 use cases up and running in implementation. And what excites me most is that we still find a lot of new areas for testing, for prototyping, for new ideas to our customers. So it shows me the story is never ending and there is a lot of room where we can improve for our clients and partners.
Okay. Mine's nothing to do with business or insurance or financial services. I've always wanted to be an author, but I realized it would take forever to write a book. So I'm really excited about some of the new AI tools, which means I can write a book, AI aided, and then publish it on Amazon in about 2 weeks. And yes, so that's what I'm looking forward to, in a underserved niche, which if anyone wants to know, come and see me afterwards. So.
Can't wait. I think for me, as a customer, the exciting thing is I go to Claude with my $20 a month subscription. I give it all my bank statements, all my paychecks, everything, and I say, here's what I want to achieve in my life. Tell me what to do. And it comes up with a plan, and then it comes up with an execution as to what products I should buy. In that scenario, insurance gets completely commodified. So for me, when I'm talking to my colleagues in my insurance company, there is something about creating a meaningful ecosystem. We understand the customer probably better than Claude at the moment. We have data that the Claude doesn't have. We have an understanding of the product set. Can we create a kind of an ecosystem where you come for all your health and wealth needs that is engaging, that is competitive, and that is proactive in how it deals with you? If we can't do that, we could be in trouble.
Thank you so much. Okay, that was an incredible look at the high-velocity future. Thank you all for participating in the panel, and enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Thank you so much to the panel. And it's always good to hear from the corporate side, what's really driving them, what's going on in the organizations, what trends do they see, what challenges they might have. Because, of course, we have lots of startups here in the room, and we'll have a segment on this very soon. But before we dive into that, we actually, as mentioned, we're growing our insurance ecosystem and platform. And I'm looking at the team because we are still looking for the partner that we've just added to the platform. The event is huge, and they have, of course, lots of meetings. So just give me a quick sign. Yeah, so we'll wait for the partner to join us, and we'll dive right into the startup pitches. So yeah, skipping that part very quickly. Over to the startup pitches, and we'll have again our expert Katja introducing all the teams.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So thank you, Christina, for setting the stage for the main part of our insurance stage today, startup pitches. So from our Munich hub, we've been supporting Insurtech startups for 8 years now, connecting them to our wider partner network, insurers, carriers, brokers, connecting them with right investors, with right opportunities, and with their peers to exchange on the pains and experiences of building for very highly regulated environments. Since our kick-off event in February this year in London, and for the last few months, we've been accelerating 10 stellar teams. All of them built for different line of insurance. Some of them are even completely horizontal AI solutions, but they share one thing in common, their goal to transform the insurance industry. Today we'll hear pitches of 6 shortlisted startups. And first up, I want to invite on stage Liablix, the Italian team that turns crash scene chaos into physics-based truth. Because insurance fraud does not stand a chance against hard science. And please welcome Davide, the CEO and founder of Liablix, on stage.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone. Every year, 1.7 trillion worth of motor claims are still analyzed manually or not checked at all. This means that fraud slips through, liability claims take forever to resolve, and insurance companies spend billions in inefficient handling of these claims. we built Liablix to change that. A couple of years ago, my co-founder, Filippo Begani, approached me asking me to automate the job he was doing manually for the last 20 years. He was a forensic expert for insurance companies to go with them in court or represent them in a liability case or fraudulent claims. So he asked me to produce a software that could automate his job. And we started with a simple POC on how to apply AI to car accident reconstruction. This POC was very successful. We published a paper at the time, and then we started working on and off on the research. Fast forward 3 years, now we are a team of 15 people. Our two other co-founders joined, Davide Moricoli, who is a second-time founder and CTO, and Daniele Colaiacomo, who has executive experience in big Insurtech like Solera, Tractable, Video. And a team of 15 tech talents coming from big corporates like Bending Spoons that IPO'd today, and international research labs. But what is Liablix? So Liablix is a platform for automatic analysis of motor claims. Basically, from the images of the two cars after the accident, we are able to reconstruct the 3D scene and the environment of the accident and to simulate the dynamics through a physics simulation engine. So today we are a vertical tool for motor claims analysis, but where we want to extend in the near future is also all the end-to-end pipeline of the motor claims. So starting from F0, first notification of loss, all the way up to settlement intelligence. Because we believe that having all the technical analysis covered, so injury analysis, liability analysis, fraud checks, and having all the information about how the policy coverage and how the accident happened, we would be able to better negotiate the terms with the policyholder. So how do we do that? So as I was saying, we have built a software that, starting from just 1 or 2 images of the vehicles, is able to reconstruct the 3D scene, finds the damages on top of the vehicles, and automatically finds the accident configuration. From that, it understands the compatibility checks, so it understands whether the two damages on the vehicles could have been caused one from another, and it goes also beyond that. So it also simulates the whole dynamic of the accident, helping insurance company to assess who's at fault, who was overspeeding, who failed to yield, and to estimate the bodily injury through biomechanical mapping of the bodies inside the vehicles. So one may say that this looks too futuristic and not applicable in the insurance companies. Well, as of today, we are already live with the year-long contracts with 2 of the major insurance companies worldwide. We have 6 POCs, 6 pilot projects running with insurance companies across Germany, UK, Spain, and Portugal. And we are achieving massive savings for these companies. So the average saving for a fraudulent case is about 400,000 euros. And for partial settlements, so for those cases that present previous damages that our solution is able to identify, the average savings is 1,000 euro. From production data, we have seen that 20 to 25% of the total claims are at fraud risk, so are highlighted to the insurance company. About 60 of the total claims are liquidated automatically because they are compatible, and then 15% are frauds, and 20 up to 25 are at risk. The average ROI for the insurance companies is 7 to 8 times, which, by the way, means that we are pricing our solution too low. So from now, we have started we have incorporated our company in May 2025, so about 1 year ago. We have received pre-seed. We have closed a pre-seed round in December for 1.5 million, and now we are live with insurance companies. Our goal for the near future is to cover all the technical analysis before the end of the year, and then to scale the adoption in the portfolio and with other insurance partners. So that was it. Happy to connect later.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you can just give it to the team. Thank you so much. What a great first startup pitch. As we switched a little bit the agenda, we are a bit ahead of time, which happens barely at these events because people always love to talk, but we're really efficient today. We'll dive into a partner activity first. As I mentioned, our partner ecosystem is growing every single day, and also our insurance ecosystem. So for this, I'd love to welcome on stage Fabian Wulfrath, Director of Partnerships here in our Plug and Play team, to make this announcement.
Thank you very much, Christina, and thank you everyone for being here. It's a bit odd to host an insurance expo at a Startup Autobahn event, which is so automotive focused, and in Stuttgart, which is the center of automotive. But we do believe that more and more innovation is happening, not in industry silos, but innovation is really happening across the board, across the industries. And the challenges we do see in automotive is a sector with very low margin and very high complexity. We do see a lot of the problems in automotive trickle down into other industries, and that's why we thought for this installment of this expo we would be here in Stuttgart. And there is no more fitting partner than our new partner to join a platform like this at a day like this. One of the biggest insurance companies in Germany, with a very interesting distribution system, also being connected to the Volksbanken and Raiffeisenbanken. Volkswagen also having here. So please give a very, very big applause for our newest addition to the ecosystem, R&V. We have Dr. Volker Purbach, Department Director, and Markus Bockholt, Senior Project Lead at R&V.
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having us on stage. And we're very happy to be a partner now with Plug and Play. And as I said, we just spent, I guess, the last hour on the other stage, on the other room, on the automotive side, because it was very interesting to see what innovation is doing in the automotive business. So let's take it and perhaps transfer it in our world, in our financial services world.
Also from my side, since I also have a microphone, thank you very much. It was super interesting, and I think we already sensed today that we have the chance to look a little bit further into the future in the setup, looking into industries which we're actually serving for at the end. So I really enjoyed the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Markus. Thank you, Volker. Thank you for being a partner of Plug and Play. And thank you all, guys, for joining us together with R&V and all of you to kind of drive that platform further and explore other industries and explore together how to make insurance, keep insurance innovative and drive really this AI transformation as well together. Thank you very much. And with that, back to Christina.
Thank you. We're excited to see our ecosystem growing. So if there's any other insurance company or even any other company in another industry, talk to us if you want to understand how Plug and Play works with corporate partners and what we can actually do. So with this, now back to the innovative solutions and companies, back to the startup pitches. So Katja, welcome on stage.
Thank you. All right, so we're going back to our flow. And next up, I wanted to invite on stage Vangari, a startup whose actuarial copilot is already live with Zurich Insurance, turning days of regulatory reporting into minutes, hallucination-free. Please give it up for Ari, the co-founder and CEO at Vangari.
Thank you, Katja, for the wonderful introduction. I won't be presenting you with any news here when I say that insurances are sitting on torrents of data. And there's so much valuable information in there, but you can't see it. That comes from my own background. I actually have a background in particle physics, studying dark matter, trying to find proof for something that we can't even see. And I later moved on to insurance and sustainable finance and found the same problem. We're looking for something that's invisible by nature. So what do we do about that? Well, here's where that starts in insurance. You know that the beating heart of insurance is its actuaries. They're the people who quantify risk and protect millions of policyholders. The problem is every time that reporting season comes around, these people are bogged up in manual work, assembling Excel sheets and data pipelining stuff that they shouldn't be doing in the first place. They're spending 3-4 days of expert time on reports that they shouldn't be doing. That means slow closes, compliance risk because human error happens, and leadership waiting for clarity when that report finally arrives. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because after all that effort, those reports tell you what happened, great, but they don't tell you why things happened. So, if a CFO or a regulator comes along and says, well, why did that reserve movement happen? Do you have the actual clear drivers there, or do you just know by coincidence that something happened at the same time? People don't know. And they have to dig for weeks longer to actually figure out what happened. So the most valuable insights stay buried in all this data that you're sitting on. The gold stays in the mud. That's why we built Etio, your financial reporting co-pilot. So Etio is powered by 2 breakthroughs, although with agentic AI, you can't really talk about a breakthrough these days. The second breakthrough, though, is causal intelligence. And causal intelligence allows you to proceed hallucination-free to the final result, to your numbers. And what this does is it means that Etio can work through any reporting standard, any jurisdiction, any business unit, and produce a report within minutes that previously used days of expert time, even when they're using ChatGPT as well. Now, this is not theoretical, this is already proven. In practice, this means that your reporting time goes down from days to minutes, as I've already mentioned. Your strategic insights, these nuggets of gold that are somewhere in the morass of all your data, get surfaced automatically, also within minutes. All of this is fully auditable, so anything our agents do is fully logged at any point in time, so you can always go back if there's anything wrong and figure out what went wrong. Usually nothing, but it's good to be sure. And this works on enterprise systems. Even on confidential data, your data never leaves your systems. We built it like that. We've already piloted this live at Zurich Insurance Group, and now we're looking for the next challenge. So I have a task, actually, for you, for those of you who are in the room, because we know that whether your name is R+V or VIG or VKB or Irish Life or any of the many other insurances here, we know that you have that same pain. So my task to you is, come find me after all these pitches and after everybody's spoken, or if you can't remember my face, which is fair enough, find that email address, and I'll give you 20 minutes of my time, and we'll figure out 2 things. First, where's your worst reporting pain right now? And secondly, exactly what do we do about it, and how do we go about this in your insurance? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ari. All right, so moving on, we have our next startup on stage. So all the way from Munich, please welcome Kado, the startup that does AI agents that watch your procurement contracts like a hawk. So no negotiated discount ever slips through the cracks again. So please welcome Nicolas, the CEO and founder of Kado, on stage.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks a lot for Plug and Play to having us and all the other startups in the batch. I think we had a quite nice few months behind us, talking to many expert consultants in Insurtech, insurance, insurers themselves, investors in insurance, getting a lot of feedback. I see a couple of faces I've already talked to, so really nice to see here the bubble of innovators and also people that give great input to us in the startups. What do we do? Basically, we focus on identifying overspending for US insurance and financial services companies. And what we see a lot across departments, there are many things that happen where you spend more than you actually should. Based on the interviews, we try to prioritize a little bit what we should talk to today. I think we're looking a lot on the loss ratio already. So we thought maybe today we bring a little bit of perspective more on your expense ratio when we talk about the combined ratio, because there's a lot of spend fragmented across departments where there's a lot of potential that you can find and see savings for you as an insurance company. What do we typically see during the day? Maybe we try to structure it in three basically pitfalls that you typically have. So the first one that we oftentimes see, you have your thresholds where you can spend within your own business function, not going through procurement. Sometimes it's 25,000, sometimes 50,000, sometimes even 100,000. And a lot of spend is going unnegotiated. And even worse, oftentimes you also have a situation where business units tries to go around the threshold, splits orders across different, or splits one supplier across different orders, and thereby spends more than actually should without actually negotiating the spend. Then the second one, what we see quite a lot in the financial services industry, very complex contracts. It's very difficult to track, do you have actually that spend, that invoices applied as you have negotiated in your contracts, so also a lot of issues that we see there. And the third one, you continuously onboard new suppliers. Every business unit tends to also have their own ownership on who to onboard. And oftentimes there's a lot of inefficiency in actually deciding, okay, which supplier should we actually use and which one is used properly. So identifying maybe opportunities for consolidation or even identifying suppliers that are not actually used but paid on an annual basis. So this is a little bit the space that we see. What are we doing actually? So we overcome the complexity of having a lot of contracts, a lot of suppliers, a lot of spend that is fragmented across divisions. And basically we run a supplier health check for you as an insurance company. We do it across the company, running through your spend data, running through your contracts, and identifying with the next best action logic where you basically currently have overspending. And how do we do that? Yeah, I had planned to have some videos here, but then maybe let's skip that. So basically what we do, we consolidate your data. Typically what you have contracts, you have spend data, but you don't really bring that into one common database. And this is the heart that we need to actually identify overspending. Then the next step, what we do, we uncover potential on your spend. So where do you actually have split orders? Where's the budget above the limit? Where do you have consolidation potential or even renegotiation potential because the spend is much more increasing than it should too. Then we do it with claims management, so identifying where do you pay more than you actually should. So do you have the SLA, so service level aligned? Do you have potential penalties and stuff like this? And then you get a quantified result where you can optimize your supplier base. So just basically what you typically find in that industry. Looking at the big chunks of spend that we have. So on the one hand we have consulting, then we have IT, technology and operations. And maybe starting with the consulting side, we see a lot of smaller budgets being allocated to consultants, but then aggregated across, along the time, which are never really properly negotiated. And also day rates that drift quite frequently above what's actually negotiated over time, and you spend much more than you actually should to based on what you have aligned in the contract. And similar in the IT and technology space, RFPs are oftentimes not clearly defined, and oftentimes you pay much more in the end than you actually agree to in the initial phase doing that sourcing. So oftentimes a really big issue. And especially in the IT space, also a lot of potential in consolidating suppliers. Oftentimes each business unit has an own IT solution where you could think of, hey, this makes sense to consolidate. And this is what our software then identifies. And lastly, also in the general operations space, a lot of tracking, how is the supplier performance, for example, in call centers, how can we actually enforce that we have volume rebates and stuff like this. And all of this is possible once you actually have a visibility on the spend data and the contract data. Yeah, and just to have a mini business case, how does it look? When we look at 1 billion GWP, now thinking about only the expense ratio, which we focus on, and then the share that's actually administrative and then non-personal, thinking of 50 million, what do we typically see? A potential of 2 to 4% of optimization. Oftentimes there are suppliers which you can optimize by 10%, then there are a couple of bigger ones where you are in the lower percentage numbers, but on average we are very confident with 2 to 4%. because this is a space which currently oftentimes overlooked in insurance and has a lot of optimization potential still. So yeah, this is a little bit the quick pitch that we wanted to do. Thanks a lot for listening to me. If this sounds interesting to you, you feel, hey, an expense ratio, we could do some more, reach out. I will stick around and happy to tell you a little bit more in detail how we do that. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. All right. Then we have our next startup, built by former Palantir and Swiss Re engineers. Stoneboard automates the entire manual backbone of reinsurance and insurance industry. So please welcome on stage Isabel, strategy lead at Stoneboard.
I know myself. I'm for sure gonna go over these chairs otherwise, so just making sure that I have at least some space. Cool, yeah, so I'm Isabel from Stoneborn and we're automating the infrastructure of risk capital. So imagine, you just came out fresh out of university, and I know for some of us it's a bit longer than for others, but you come out, you're excited, you go into the industry, the real world, and you're gonna solve some cases, right? You're an actuary in training, and then you get the bordereaux, or you get the submissions. And just like was mentioned before, you're spending maybe an hour to 8 hours in writing scripts. One script, a VLOOKUP for one specific cedent. 600 cedents a year, 4 times a year, with 5 or more people in the team. In massive amounts of effort being lost in these bordereaux and submissions. We have fallen in love with this problem and many others, and I will share with you how in a year's time we went from an idea to POCs, POVs, pilots, and now in production with 2, and hopefully after tomorrow 3, and many more coming. So there's a problem. Markets are evolving, but reinsurance, what we see, the operations are not. And everyone knows the market is very unstructured. There's a lot of information that sits in these Excels, in PDFs, in XMLs, and yet there's still so much human involvement, even though it's very repetitive work. We see more and more and more how much is stuck in the operations trap. You see there's expertise that goes to execution, knowledge that stays locked in the people. It's now nowhere documented, written down, or really how the decisions are being made. Change management stalls, innovation teams come with really cool POCs, yet it doesn't move off from the slides or from the POCs, like was mentioned before, and operations calcify. So, why hasn't it been solved? Consultants, great vision, and I've been one of them for many years. Horizontal platforms, but taking an extremely long time to actually come to, especially with the waterfall techniques, to really to value. And then custom builds with very uncertain outcomes. So, how have we industrialized and what are our core values in solving this problem? First of all, we're a team, as mentioned, from ex-Swiss Re underwriters and Palantir engineers that are extremely intelligent and bring number 1 and number 2. So the first thing, process-centric, we have set up a very composable, dynamic workflow. That is basically, you can detail an agent, there you have LLMs or human involvement, and with plug and play you can quite easily adapt and change the workflow based on what is needed in your organization. We're Gen AI native, we started with the platform. It's a bit also from the engineer's background, right? It needs to be secure, it needs to be safe. We have a dedicated instance per client. We can host it wherever, here in Germany, can be in the Americas, really dependent on also the regulatory requirements of our clients. And we're vertical. First time I wrote this down, I wasn't sure why, but vertical means basically we're not covering the end-to-end data value chain, but really go into depth of the knowledge of a reinsurer. So with our underwriter knowledge, that's where it starts, but then together with our clients, we do refinement cycles, and we bake their knowledge into the prompts, into the workflow, and into the agents. What does that give us? Speed, not just us, but actually the client, in the turnaround time of them bringing the bordereaux and the submissions, ultimately extracting the core data for whatever downstream purposes, analytics, audit, invoice reconciliation, which we also, by the way, do. Quality, very important. We have currently on an average of 95% accuracy, but that doesn't mean that the remaining 5% is false, what goes downstream. No, that means that automatically we're able to 95% of the time prepare the information is correct, and then the remaining 5% needs human review, which we have prepared and with validation points and the human in the loop, as all of us know. Control. Very important that you have these human-in-the-loop interfaces and proof points, adaptable per client, what is needed there, and ultimately scalability, making sure we start from a small scope. For example, we started now with the casualty, and how do we then grow along all the other lines of businesses? So we're currently live at 2 clients and hopefully 3 assets for underwriting and our middle office. Risk and exposure is currently going in or finalizing the pilot, and we're still looking for partners in delegated authority as well. And how do we do this? We do a proof of run, which is actually something we do with anonymized data within 5 days, or we spin up an instance which only requires 1 day for us, and then we can do it on your data. Then a pilot within 4 weeks, and then going into production very fast. We are Stoneborn. We're growing really fast. We have a lot of knowledge about the industry, and we're super eager to work with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Oh, perfect. Thank you. Great. All right, now we have another startup pitch all the way from across the country, from Hamburg. Please welcome High Ground, a startup that developed sovereign AI agents that fix IT incidents 80% faster inside your own infrastructure. Please welcome on stage Lucas, the founder's associate at High Ground.
Thank you. Thanks for the chairs. Smart idea. All right, I'm Lucas, and I'm talking today about High Ground. Slight information up front, I was not supposed to do this pitch, so please welcome to my PowerPoint karaoke. So what we do at High Ground is a AI agent to resolve incidents and do autonomous IT operations. For insurance, that's important because you guys spend about 7% of your revenue on IT. So basically, IT is your backbone. And the hard and bad news is that 2/3 of that money that you spend is mostly spent on keeping the lights running. Or lights running, lights on. And that's kind of a big deal because it's a lot of money. And despite these investments, incidents still happen. They cost a lot of money, and resolving them is still mostly manual. A typical incident in IT takes around 4 hours to resolve, and 75% of that time is still manual work. And in total, enterprises lose around $600 billion a year just on downtime problems. So let's look at an IT incident and how they typically look like if you don't use High Ground, and then how High Ground changes that. Usually, IT incidents happen when you're not supposed, or when they're not supposed to happen. So at night, at 3 a.m. So one of your on-call devs gets pinged, has to wake up, go to the desk, and then starts investigating. Okay, what happened? And then he goes through logs, traces. That takes, on average, 2.5 hours. And then at some point, he finally finds the issue of what happened, and then starts implementing the fix. So on average, that takes 4 hours to resolve. If you use High Ground, while the IT developer or on-call developer gets up, kind of shakes out his legs and starts to wake up, actually, High Ground is autonomously pinged, goes through the whole code base, and has access to all the tools the DevOps engineer would use, understands automatically where the issue comes from, reads logs at machine speed and not like a human really slowly. And then by the time the developer looks at a screen, is fully awake, he gets a full root cause analysis, understands what the issue is, and can straight up implement the fix. So saves on average 3 hours and 20 minutes. The cool part about this as well, usually when you're an on-call dev, after you're done, you really want to go back to sleep. But the thing is, you still have to write documentation of what happened, because otherwise you will forget. Highground does this also autonomously and fully automated. So in total, you save a lot of time, you keep knowledge, and your on-call developers get a lot more sleep. Now, using AI in production environment sounds like a nightmare and sounds like lost databases, deleted stuff, and really something that ends up in the news. The way we build Highground is keeping security and sovereignty in mind so that it actually works for enterprises. It is fully self-hosted on your cloud or on-prem, can be even be air-gapped. Data never loses your environment, and even we don't see what actually happens, which for product analytics is kind of bad, but it's really important. And then you can also bring your own model. So if you have hosted frontier models, open source models, again, you can do this fully air-gapped, but you have full control over where your data is sent. In total, this means Highground lives on your premise. You keep your data, you choose whatever you want to do with Highground, and you can use AI finally to become operationally resilient without sending your data somewhere where you don't trust the people or the providers. For IT professionals, for the IT departments, this means two things. First of all, less downtime, faster recovery when actually downtime happens. And on the other side, more knowledge is saved, root cause analysis happen faster, and your team is actually has to face less operational stretch. We are already live, so we are already working with the Deutsche Bahn, with EFM, Adesso, and a few other corporates, already sketching out different POVs with insurance providers. Very happy to continue talking about this. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lucas. Perfect. And now we will conclude with our last speech of the day. I'm pleased to welcome on stage Vani, the team making sure that your product shows up when customers ask ChatGPT or Claude instead of Googling. So with already live with big names in the insurance space, please welcome on stage Robin, the founder of Vani.
Thank you, Katja. Hi, everyone. I'm Robin, co-founder and CEO of Wani, and we're building the revenue infrastructure for agentic distribution. These are barbaric words to say that we help insurers make money inside LLMs, make revenue. What we see in the market is that AI is becoming the buyer. Consumers and businesses are using AI to search, compare, and buy insurance products. This is already the reality. In the US, 50% of consumers are already using AI to buy financial services. And across our clients, 20% of their new business is already coming from LLMs today. And this traffic converts on average 4 times more than traditional search. Small parenthesis, this is true for consumers. This is also true for commercial lines. Businesses, what they do is they go through a broker, get a quote, and their first reflex is go on ChatGPT or Claude, put it in there and challenge it. So this is true regardless of the insurance lines. When AI becomes the buyer, 2 problems arise. One, these LLMs, they're a black box. So you don't have access to the user's prompts, and you can't know how your clients are discovering your products and what's triggering the buying decision. So you're blind. 2, your distribution stack, everything you've built to distribute your products, have been built for humans, not for agents. So your website has been built to capture human attention. It hasn't been built to be crawled by ChatGPT to find your information. Same thing for your entire sales funnel with brokers, agents. It's suboptimal when it's an AI agent taking the decision. In essence, when AI becomes the buyer, insurance companies are losing control of their distribution. With Wani, we help you regain control of this distribution. We help insurers distribute personalized quotes directly inside LLMs, which is where your customers are discovering your products. The video is not showing, apparently. I'll walk you through how it works concretely. Let's say you have a user going on ChatGPT looking for home insurance. You will have an application that will pop up inside the chat, capture some inputs, let's say the address of the user, the size of the property, if they have high-value items, and if they're renting or owning. And then it will deliver a personalized price directly inside the chat with a personalized level of coverage. And the user can just iterate on this quote, add more coverage, change some options, etc. Our value proposition, in essence, relies on 5 points. 1, we help insurers build this AI application. 2, we help you make it live on ChatGPT and other channels, as we'll see. And 3, once you have an application live, this is where the real problem and work starts. There is a lot of work to do on making sure you get traffic. It makes no sense to have an application on ChatGPT that doesn't pop up inside your chat. So how does your app get discovered? How do you get traffic? Once it's discovered, how do you know how many conversations you've had with your users? How many leads and quotes were generated in the end? So how many revenue you generated? Why the other ones dropped? What were the reasons for the drops? And how can you act on this? That's number 3. We help you evaluate the performance and improve the discoverability of your apps. Number 4, we don't stop at ChatGPT. We expand across all the other channels wherever your customers can find your products. It can be Claude. It can also be your existing channels, your website, where we replicate the same user experience as on LLMs, WhatsApp, Voice AI, you name it. And 5, the most important of all, we help you simulate the market and optimize your revenue. What we do is we create synthetic buyers. So we start from a persona. Let's take back the example of the home insurance. We'll start with a French entrepreneur moving to Stuttgart looking for home insurance. For this persona, we simulate thousands of conversations on all the channels. We look at how your application is performing on this simulation, where you're winning and where you're losing. And then we use data to optimize your full funnel, your messaging, your UX, UI, your pricing to make sure that you maximize the revenue through these applications. That's the end goal we're pursuing. This is something that makes it a bit more visual. You can think about it as 2 pillars. We help you create your AI storefront and deploy it on all your channels, all LLMs, websites, WhatsApp, etc. And then the infrastructure is where the real work is happening to measure the performance of these sales agents, to optimize it, and something very important that I haven't talked about yet, compliance. We put some very specific guardrails on these agents, collecting the different regulations at a local level. So it will be BaFin in Germany, but ACPR in France, FCA in the UK, NAIC in the US. And we make sure that these guardrails are respected by your AI agents. I'm going to finish on this one. When AI becomes the buyer, consumers can get quotes much easier. They can compare these quotes, and the switching costs then become much lower. It's much easier to change from insurance. That's a lot of challenges for insurers, but that also creates a massive opportunity. Katja was mentioning dynamic underwriting, and she was mentioning that the really important thing is on the quality of the data that you can get. With the conversational data you can get from all your users across LLMs and existing channels, you can massively increase the number of inputs you get before getting a price. You can have a much more differentiated pricing strategy, have a continuous risk assessment, and these are all the problems we're solving for our clients with Wani. We're already working with more than 20 clients in the US, across Europe. So yeah, I'm happy to go into more details if you want to chat. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Robin, for this last startup pitch. And with that, we're closing the startup pitches. And I want to give a special shout out to all the startups that have been presenting today. We're closing the Insurtech Expo, but also we're closing the entire stage. So we've had many different topics from dual use, deep tech, new products, value chains, and also insurance. So thank you all for coming, for listening in. Everyone who's in the insurance space, there will be a get-together just to continue the conversations outside. It's really nice and sunny. We'll have some drinks, and I think the ice cream station is still ongoing, so it's really nice. And also the main stage is still going on, so there are some announcements, some awards, so you shouldn't miss that. Thank you all for coming, and enjoy the evening.